The date is May 10th, 2021. At roughly noon in his Shanghai apartment, Xiaohuan hears a knock at the door. Upon opening it, Chinese police flood inside. They drag him away and tear through his belongings. Ron's wife, Bei Sheying, is left behind with no explanation, only a clue to her husband's charge: subversion of state power. For 2 years, Bei hears nothing, other than the location of where her husband was being held. When she finally sees him again, it's in court, and he's sentenced to 7 years in prison. Despite Bei's confusion, this was no mistake. For 12 years, under the pseudonym ProgramThink, Ron maintained one of China's most daring online activism blogs. In this time, he exposed officials, taught evasion tactics, and even translated foreign news stories. But Ron's story is just a glimpse of a larger picture, a chapter of a now 30-year-old story of the struggle between censorship and circumvention. Since the internet came online in China during the mid 1990s, the government has struggled to maintain control of content through censorship, while Chinese netizens and organized activist groups have strove for free access to the internet. As technology has advanced, so too has this struggle. And with the advent of new technology like blockchain, AI, and more, both sides continue to add new weapons to their arsenal. When one side pulls, the other pulls harder. And now, the world is left to wonder, what's next? This is China's digital tug of war. China established permanent connection to the internet on the 20th of April, 1994, roughly 11 years after the world's largest communication network came online. On the surface, the internet offered unprecedented potential for Chinese economic growth, but it also introduced a threat: uncontrollable information. Following the Tiananmen Square massacre in 1989, the Chinese government set a new precedent for censorship. For all intents and purposes, stories, images, and accounts of May 4th, 1989 were erased from history. The internet would be no exception to this precedent. While the date of its original launch is disputed, sometime between 1998 and 2000, China launched the Golden Shield project under the Ministry of Public Security. Shrouded in secrecy, the project had two objectives: engineer tactics to monitor and control internet traffic, and block all access to any content the party deemed inappropriate. The project produced what is now the largest and most sophisticated censorship network the world has ever seen: the Great Firewall. By 2008, the network was fully operational, blocking foreign platforms like YouTube, Netflix, and eventually Google. Beyond foreign sites, any content deemed politically sensitive was blocked. From democratic activism to gambling and pornography, the government had built a system unlike anything seen before. Supporting the technological side of the barrier is a series of legislative censorship policies. Chinese companies offering alternatives to banned websites such as Bilibili, WeChat, and Baidu are all subject to extensive censorship policies. This has encouraged self-censorship, a process in which the companies that develop and maintain these platforms censor user content themselves in order to avoid being banned. Abroad, the Great Firewall has sparked bouts of controversy regarding human rights and government oversteps. But domestically, the government has done well to justify the use of the Great Firewall. In 2016, China's National Ethnic Affairs Committee published an article citing the need to maintain a harmonious cyberspace. Leveraging the cultural cornerstone of Confucianism, the article leans into the idea of social harmony, an essential piece of the success of a nation and the well-being of its people. Despite the cultural appeal of their reasoning, Chinese citizens have resisted the firewall since the beginning. Over the years, Chinese netizens have displayed their unrelenting will to make their voices heard. The internet truly serves as the voice of the citizens. For example, the descendants of state bureaucrats often face the scrutiny of Chinese society due to frustration over the privilege and arrogance of the children. In 2010, Li Qiming, the son of a police chief, ran over two students, killing one and injuring the other. After being stopped on the scene, he arrogantly said, "Sue me if you want. My father is Li Gang. The internet exploded. Despite the censorship of videos of the incident, the phrase went viral, becoming a digital war cry for justice. And it worked. Weeks later, CCTV, China's state-run news network, aired an interview with Li Gang and Li Qiming, who apologized effusively. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. His father's reputation was plastered, and he became one of China's four infamous fathers. In a similar campaign, netizens responded to the 2023 death of former university student Zhu Ling after her 30-year battle with thallium poisoning. The main suspect was her roommate, Sun Wei, who escaped any legal responsibility thanks to her family's government connections. Netizens scoured the web for images of Sun Wei, posting them on social media and lifestyle app Xiaohuan or Red Note. The plain images were quickly censored by the app's algorithm. But netizens refused to be silenced. They used AI to mosaic Wei's pictures, evading censorship. Netizens also used AI to generate images of what Xu Ling's life may have looked like without thallium poisoning, hiding their political messages behind lifestyle hashtags like hashtag life in Australia and hashtag Australian beauty outfit. These hashtags refer to Sun Wei's migration to Australia as a part of her efforts to evade legal trouble. And they not only prevented the censorship of the content, but also allowed the campaign to expand its audience, creatively using Xiaohongshu's algorithm to recommend lifestyle content. Through their actions, netizens have shown just how much the internet means to them, earning a reputation as not just the largest internet population, but also the most vocal and most resilient. Southern Metropolis News may have summarized it best in their article, "Don't Even Think About Deceiving Netizens," arguing that they will not allow themselves to be deceived, and that suppression only strengthens their desire to express themselves. While citizens have fought censorship with creativity, software developers and human rights groups have fought with code. Organized software development groups provide crucial technology to millions of Chinese netizens. The circumvention technologies allow users to gain access to the unrestricted internet as it exists outside of China, providing new information, perspectives, and services. The most widely used tool for circumvention has tended to be VPNs, virtual private networks. These tools encrypt users' requests and route them through different servers, making the request appear as if it came from somewhere else. These tools essentially allow users to extend their own private tunnel across the public network, protecting their information from deep surveillance and providing them access to banned content. Another popular tool is the Onion Router, or Tor for short. Tor is an alternative browser that uses a three-hop encryption system. As a request moves through the Tor network, each node pulls back a layer of encryption, like the layers of an onion. Each node along the route can only access a very specific part of the data, enabling full functionality while providing unparalleled security. This browser has allowed netizens to access restricted content in similar ways to VPNs. But the government has not been idle. They've adapted to these circumvention technologies. The strength of the Great Firewall is systemic. Unlike much of the world, where private internet service providers maintain backbone gateways servicing millions of users, China's internet runs through 6 state-run ISPs. Everything flows through government-controlled gateways, with China Unicom and China Telecom responsible for most of the traffic. On the surface, IP blocking and keyword filtering employ blanket censorship to countless websites and forms of content. But the network's defense runs deeper. The internet functions on a number of defined rule sets called protocols. These protocols provide standardization, ensuring that devices can communicate reliably and effectively. The Great Firewall employs multiple sophisticated techniques that rewrite these protocols to bend to its censorship policies. The domain name system is like the phone book of the internet, translating human-readable addresses like google.com to computer-readable addresses. The broader gateway protocol is crucial for routing internet traffic. It constantly updates vast networks called autonomous systems with the newest routing information, allowing requests to not only reach the correct destination, but to get there in the most efficient way possible. The Great Firewall uses DNS poisoning and BGP hijacking to redraw the internet map formed by these two protocols. Together, These censorship technologies redirect traffic away from their actual destinations and towards alternative websites that abide by censorship policies, or to nowhere at all. But these techniques are exactly what VPNs and Tor are built to avoid. So how has the Great Firewall been adapted to handle these circumvention techniques? In 2011, the Great Firewall began using deep packet inspection, enabling the firewall to perform in-depth analysis of the source, destination, and content of internet requests in real time. DPI is like an instant X-ray of internet traffic, but it is used particularly aggressively against suspicious connections. DPI works because it can examine traffic traveling along encrypted routes, such as VPNs and Tor. If the network suspects that the traffic is using a circumvention tool, it will flag it, allowing the rest of the network censorship tools to go to work. While technological innovation has continued to allow the world to take steps forward, in the context of the Great Firewall and circumvention technology, it has promoted a continuous escalation of the conflict. And that escalation is beginning to reach dangerous levels. Currently, the golden child of the technology world is artificial intelligence. The advent of AI for the greater consumer base has completely reshaped the internet landscape, and the same can be said for the Great Firewall. Next-gen DPI, powered by artificial intelligence, takes the already strong technology to a new level, allowing for more accurate and consistent traffic analysis and intelligent responses. AI has given one of the Great Firewall's strongest tools a boost in precision and effectiveness. But activist groups have responded well. VPNs and Tor began using advanced obfuscation techniques to avoid DPI. While they employ a variety of different methods, at its heart, traffic obfuscation disguises VPN and Tor encrypted traffic to look like standard encrypted requests, like HTTPS. This tactic works well against DPI and even next-gen DPI. Disguising their encrypted traffic as HTTPS gives the Great Firewall little reason to suspect it of suspicious activity. And even if the traffic is analyzed with DPI, there's a strong chance it will be able to exploit the AI behind it. Traffic obfuscation takes advantage of AI training data, because for all intents and purposes, it is exactly the kind of traffic that AI should recognize as harmless. This has significantly reduced the effectiveness of AI-powered DPI. But the escalation continues. The Great Firewall has introduced active probing, using automated AI agents to act as users of connections suspected of circumvention. These probes make requests to servers found in traffic and analyze how the system responds to its requests. If the response is characteristic of a VPN, Tor, or proxy server, the address is flagged and blacklisted faster than ever possible in the past. On top of this, China has introduced new legislation banning the use of VPNs that are not approved by the government. Even the creative tactics of netizens are at risk thanks to AI. Gone are the days where hashtags and obscure phrases can avoid censorship. AI tools can understand context, analyze sentiments, and reason in ways comparable to humans. By employing these tools in censorship networks, the Great Firewall can autonomously censor disguised political content faster than ever before, without the need for human input. The firewall is no longer just a sophisticated defense network, it's intelligent. But the struggle still continues. Every move triggers a countermove. What began as a steady tug of war has become an arms race that is starting to spiral out of control. The escalation of this conflict is so great that it has even expanded into real-world crises. In China's Xinjiang region, the CCP have developed an extensive network of cameras using machine learning and facial recognition to build extensive profiles of every person traveling in and out of the region. This is particularly true for members of the Uyghur ethnic group. While the full extent of the Uyghur crisis may be a topic for another video, it should be noted that human rights groups are working tirelessly to collect evidence of the crisis. They are beginning to use decentralized storage networks, like blockchain, to protect evidence from government cyber attacks. The state of the tug of war is clear. As both sides continue to add technological weapons to their arsenals, the tension grows stronger and stronger. For activists and netizens, the risks have never been greater. For the government, the stakes have never been higher. Neither side can afford to let go. The internet is invaluable for the citizens of China, and control is not something that the government is willing to surrender. And caught in the middle are ordinary people, living inside a system where every click could have consequences. Both sides keep pulling harder and harder. The question is, when the rope snaps, who will be left standing? While the state of this conflict is certainly concerning, it is extremely difficult to establish a moral perspective on the situation because of the foundational differences in Western and Eastern ethical frameworks. It's important to recognize that many of the criticisms of the Great Firewall are on the outside looking in. In Western philosophy, freedom of expression and access to information are seen as natural rights, principles of human dignity independent of government approval. Censorship is seen as a violation of these rights. But applying this framework directly to the situation in China risks misunderstanding it completely. For many, the Great Firewall does not impede their daily lives. Some aren't even aware that it exists. For many, the politics and supposed injustice don't even matter as long as they're living comfortably. Even some who know the extent and nature of the Great Firewall consider it important for national security. This proves that freedom of expression is not a right that exists above all others, the way that it does in Western nations. It exists among priorities like social harmony, national unity, and stability. Beyond this, we must consider the ongoing ideological shift within China. While Confucianism, Taoism, and legalism have a smaller explicit presence compared to the traditional era, they are still implicitly ingrained in the values and norms of Chinese society. In recent years, the presence of legalist thought in China has grown. Arguing for devout obedience to the laws, legalist thought strongly justifies the expansion of censorship and information control. Given these developments, it may follow that the majority of Chinese society may be perfectly accepting of the censorship, willing to sacrifice some of their freedom of expression in favor of collective harmony, national security, and legalist obedience. Yet even amid acceptance, there are still those who refuse to be silenced. As the arms race continues to escalate, the risk for everyday citizens grows. As the two sides continue to fight, it is not just freedom of expression that is threatened. It is the internet as China now knows it that is on the line. The firewall will continue to grow stronger and more restrictive in response to the development of new circumvention tools, and the sense of connection, creativity, and open discovery that drew people online in the first place will shrink more and more, until one day it may disappear. Everyday citizens said that as long as they can live comfortably, the firewall is not an issue. But what happens when that comfortability is no more? On top of that, the battle over China's internet is no longer just China's. Other governments are following suit. Russia, Iran, even democracies have begun employing censorship online. It's becoming scalable, popular, and dangerously efficient. Inside China, the arms race shows no signs of slowing. Activists innovate, the firewall evolves, and the stakes climb. The relentless hope of activists and netizens is inspiring, but hope alone isn't enough. As of today, netizens and activists are on the back foot. Government support of the Great Firewall is extensive. Partnerships with cutting-edge technology firms, more money, more people, and more computing power. The advantages of the government are clear. The future of the internet, in China and beyond, depends on a deeper question. When the breaking point arrives, which side will prevail? Will the internet itself be redefined, not as a place of freedom, but as a controlled, fractured network of national borders? Or will freedom of speech prevail, bringing a new golden age of expression? Modern technological innovations, particularly AI, have completely reshaped China's digital tug-of-war into an unsustainable arms race. Innovation on one side drives more on the other, and everyday citizens are caught in the middle. For now, the battle rages on, but the rope is taut, and when it finally snaps, the world will feel the impact.